have a permit? Parking permit?
He didn't fill the paperwork out. He didn't turn the paperwork.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Salisbury City Council work session of June 19th. We have a limited number of items on the agenda today. Mr. Moulds, you're up first.
Thank you. Which one's
Either one.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
The item I have for you tonight is a grant offer that's been made by the Maryland Energy Administration, the amount of $35,000. The city's been successful the last 3 years of obtaining the grants. We did the first one, it's mentioned in my memo. We converted 114 streetlights to LED with a significant savings in electricity for us. And we had a second grant that was given to meet our transportation goals. That was a conversion of 5 vehicles to propane power, multi-fuel type uses to meet that. This grant is, again, we were able to obtain for more streetlight conversions, and these would be city streetlights that we own and that are also metered, so we get credit for the reduction in electricity usage. So the first grant was for around $65,000. That got us the 114 streetlights. So this is roughly half of that, but we're continuing to see some decreases in the cost of the lights themselves. So we're hoping to get another maybe 50 out of it. So I'd like to forward that to resolution to get approved for signature of the agreement.
How many will this leave us that we still have to do?
We got a ton.
We got a ton of them.
Yeah, and if you remember, we had some discussion. The problem we've got is that you've got your component of city streetlights that we are own and metered. There's a component of city streetlights that we own but are not metered, so we pay a tariff. And then there are the Delmarva-owned streetlights. So we need to have the meter, otherwise we don't get credit for the bill.
Right.
So I keep bugging about trying to get Delmarva to get a tariff for LED, so that we could pay less if we did a conversion of our own that weren't metered, and also get Delmarva to start doing conversions, getting funding to start doing conversions to LED, so we can save on that too.
What's been their response?
They say they're working on it. I was hoping after they did the consolidation with Petco, yeah, that they're working on it. They're supposedly working on at least the tariff. So if we do a conversion of our own streetlights to LED, we'll get the benefits of that. As far as their own doing the conversion, obviously, they just got finished converting over, I think 2 years ago, the last of the mercury ones to sodium. So
That
how
took
to
a
start
while.
the whole next phase of getting all the sodiums converted to LED will be a long process when you're looking at thousands of streetlights. But that's the direction we're going.
Okay.
Okay?
Questions?
I don't have any questions.
Questions? Consensus to move on? Consensus? Okay, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Next on the agenda is Debbie Stam. Good afternoon, Debbie.
Good afternoon.
Good to see you.
Good to see you. Okay, so we applied last July for another round of community legacy funding for commercial building improvement grants. We were awarded $50,000. So now all we need to do is accept that $50,000 officially, and I can open the get the grant account set up and get ready for a new open funding round with local business owners.
Okay. What was the response last time we did that?
Last time we did 6. We got 6 projects done.
Good?
Mhm.
Good.
Now we had 125 last time, so we
Right, so
have
you're a
more
little,
money.
yeah.
So we always peg the maximum at 20,000. Oh, sorry. Peg the maximum at 20,000. So, but that's entirely up to us. If we end up with 5 good applicants, we might give them $10,000 each. It's entirely our decision, or the
Okay.
mayor's decision.
Questions?
I saw that it said the grant for the A&E design services was not funded? Was there a reason it wasn't funded? Or just-
They didn't offer one, but typically the state is not real excited about funding A&E design services, so I knew going in that it was questionable whether we would
Okay.
get that or not. They prefer to fund actual construction projects,
So
not
it's
big
just
on
one of those
design.
we'll ask for it.
That's right.
All they
You
can
know,
do is
never
say
hurts
yes.
to
Never hurts
ask,
to
right?
ask. That's exactly right.
And we weren't ready, we had to do the design before we could request money for construction, so.
Okay.
With last year's award, geographically, where were the majority of those awards?
They all have to be in the downtown historic district.
Okay.
So that's where they all were. Let's see, Bob Cannon did some masonry work over in his building, which is adjacent to the library. Matt Tillman and Randy Taylor got some money to do what used to be Parker Place, to do some renovations to that.
Their doors look amazing.
They
by the
do,
way.
they
Those
do,
are
and they did the
beautiful.
basement windows too.
Yeah.
We were able to get a little bit of money for the basement windows because they actually came in slightly under budget. Let's see, who else? We did the city center. We did a nice cleanup and renovation of the facade, the Route 50 facade of the city center, which looks really
Yeah, it
good.
does.
And they also did some work on the, they put in a new metal awning over the Rody Joe's patio area. That's all I can think of off the
Okay,
top of my
that's
head.
all right. That's okay. Any other questions? Consensus to accept?
I accept.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you, Deb.
thank
Appreciate
you.
it. Okay, that takes care of the items on the agenda. Now, usually, we take comments on the agenda items, but Lynn Bratton is here and is asked to speak on the fencing legislation that we just passed, I assume.
We heard first reading in the last meeting.
Okay,
We had first reading with the ability for comments, and I had no clue it was even an item. So that's why I'm coming with some thoughts. It's up to you whether you allow me to share them.
why don't you share, yeah, we'll let you share them now, because otherwise you do it at the next reading, you could do it. So, does anybody have any objection to hearing them? Any legal issues with it? No.
You sure
Okay.
Okay. Sure we're not gonna get in trouble.
No, we're not gonna.
Jack was the one that would get in trouble.
You can go up there, please. Yeah, I'm the one that goes.
You could spank your own hands.
Yeah.
Thank you.
This is what you sent us?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Yeah. I didn't know whether you had questions or anything. Good afternoon, I'm Lynn Bratton, 303 South Boulevard, Salisbury, Maryland, resident city of Salisbury. Dear Mayor and City Council, thank you for allowing me to voice my concerns with the proposed change to the code regarding fences and retaining walls and what materials may be used in residential districts and neighborhoods. I realize I am late in voicing my opinions, but I simply did not realize that this was an area of concern. In reading the legislation, I note that even though this issue was brought before the Planning Commission for purely aesthetic reasons, the Commission did due diligence in recommending the non-use of materials such as pallets that would not stand up to residential use. I must stand in defense, however, of the use of chain link fence and other substantial wire fencing in residential areas. Fencing at its core is a practical matter. It prevents trespassing, keeps animals from running through yards, and defines property lines. Solid fencing adds a measure of privacy, and yes, it can be attractive. However, solid fencing also provides a canvas for graffiti and tagging and detracts from a sense of community. It does not allow residents or police to quickly assess activity on a property upon arrival or from a distance. In speaking to the residents of my properties about this issue, I was most struck by the comments of Jerome, who lives on Johnson Street. He said, and I quote, "My neighbors like looking out for each other when no one is home. I like being able to see down the street from my back door in case there is an emergency or someone needs my help." Unquote. Jerome's property is partially surrounded by chain link fence, and being able to see his neighbors contributes to the sense of community he feels. living in that neighborhood. My own daughter also lived at this property and agreed that the fencing surrounding this home was ideal and made her feel safe. I respect that chain link and substantial wire fences are from a previous generation. However, they do provide security and safety to my properties and my clients. They allow them to see who and what is going on behind and around them. They prevent trespassing. They stop unlawful traffic through back and side yards, and they do not encourage or promote graffiti. I support the desire to improve the aesthetics of the city and feel strongly that this can be accomplished through maintenance and repair of the fences currently approved. I would strongly recommend that substantial wire fencing be removed from the list of not approved fencing options, and that the use of chain link fencing be reconsidered. Respectfully submitted, Lynn Bratton. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bratton. Any
Questions?
questions for Ms. Bratton? No? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else for the good of the order? Yes, Mark?
On the issue of fencing, we found out after the last reading of that the version that was presented in the book was a second version that was floating around. I mean, it's very similar to the one that was actually proposed by the Planning Commission. So my plan, if you don't object, is I'm going to stick that one back in there so that you can, I mean, I think Jack was recommending the version that was actually approved by the Planning Commission, but the other one was just a version that was around sort of parallel with that the whole time. So he brought that to my attention.
The work session.
Yeah, it was the one you saw at the work session, but yet the Planning Commission had a slightly different version. And so Jack was recommending that we go forward with the Planning Commission's version instead of the one that you saw at the work session.
How did that happen?
No one seems to know.
When
it was initially
get-
proposed, yeah, there was a version proposed, I think, by the mayor. And that's the one that went to the Planning Commission, but something slightly different came back from the Planning Commission.
Well,
And when they
I don't
send-
remember anything being changed on the Planning Commission.
It was just
I'm not
worded
sure.
differently. They both,
I think they have
Pointed
the
to the
same
same-
result. I think that, if I remember correctly, the primary difference is that in the one that the Planning Commission approved, they're saying you shall not have these fences in the district. And in the one that you have seen in both the work session and at the first reading, it says that these fences, these types of fencings are approved. And normally that's what's done in most planning situations. You say what is
Positive.
acceptable, and then if it's not there, then it's not acceptable. But apparently the Planning Commission, when they looked at it, they had a slightly different opinion and thought it was better to outlaw these various things. So, I mean, obviously it's your call which one you want to go with
Well,
entirely.
do me a favor, make sure that we get as quickly as possible copies of both of those.
okay.
You actually
It
have
was
them
in the
already?
packet,
Well,
Believe it or, but we'll
okay.
get it to you again.
but.
Could
we
you send
will.
it out again to
What
make sure we have the
happens
two
is-
different,
When we get the report from planning and zoning on these things, we always get their memo and their ordinance, which always has the letterhead from the county at the top and incorrect signature lines, Jack Heath instead of John R. Heath and Jake Day. And so we always request that in Word from them. And I searched through Asana and found it, and that was the draft one that came to work session. And so instead of getting it from Gloria, I found it, but what I found was that first version that was in the packet.
I don't think there's any legal substantive difference in the two versions, but Jack seemed to think it was better to say you shall not have this fencing in these districts instead of what you could have. Normally, it's done what you can do, but
Send it to you as soon
Yeah.
as I get back
we'll
to
send them
the
both over. I
office.
just wanted to bring that to your attention because it was brought to my attention the next day after the first reading that we had on Monday, so.
and since April and Jim are not here, could you also put a little explanation about why they're receiving it again?
Sure,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah, that should not happen. If something is sent from the mayor to the planning commission and there's changes made, then a different thing is made. I was on the planning commission, I'm on the planning commission, and I wasn't aware that they changed the wording, because I never saw the original
Okay.
Okay.
before.
Yeah.
I saw the
would've-
original
I
after
know,
the fact,
yeah.
Yeah, yes.
which doesn't help. Okay,
Council President, can I just respond or
Sure.
offer
sure.
insight? Thank you, Ms. Bratton, for your comments, and I understand some of your feedback along with others in the community that might not be in favor of this, but there are many forms of alternative fencing that are similar in pricing that can make our neighborhoods look better while increasing, the goal of increasing property value. So that's the intent there, not to be burdensome on anybody. Hope you'll.
And also, the fences that are in place now are not required to be replaced. So,
Do we have any articles that support that?
We can put some stuff together for you,
That would be
sure.
awesome.
yeah, if you, I actually spend time on the web looking at top, what's the trend in fencing? And if you go on, you'll see that chain link fencing is, I think they mentioned 11 or 12 different types of fencing that were the top group.
I do.
And chain link was like 10 or 11, lowest. The top, vinyl, it used to be, at least based on what the research that I did, that chain link fencing was the cheapest. It isn't that way anymore. It's flipped, where vinyl fencing now is actually cheaper and almost looks like wooden fencing. So, I mean, that's just for informational purposes.
Now, both types of fence do have issues when it comes to aesthetics, because the vinyl will not always look its best once it's been weathered for a while and it begins to grow the lichen and so forth and so on. The algae begins to take. I'm just surprised.
Yep.
The tagging and the graffiti is truly one of my big concerns, because once you have a wooden fence that somebody spray painted, it never looks right again, even if you take graffiti remover and so forth from it. And the vinyl fencing and the need for power washing, I think is well taken as well. And the fact that I can't see what's on the other side. When I hear a discussion that seems a little heated in a backyard where I'm someplace cleaning up or visiting some of my clients, it's real nice to look over and see if it's just some young people just horsing around, or if you feel like you truly maybe need to go inside and get out of the way.
See, and that's the slippery slope that we get to, because those people who have the property and want to use a stockade-type fence have the right to privacy.
And that's absolutely, I don't have a problem
Yeah.
with that, but to say that that's metal fencing or wire fencing or chain link fencings are not allowed, and that takes away my opportunity to have something that I can see through that will continue to protect the bottom enough that animals and children can't slide through. Because you can get metal fence, but it's like almost like picket fencing. It's very pretty, wrought iron, but animals and other things can get through it.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, if we have no other business, we're adjourned.